Today, it's the same customer as the Bantam breaker phone, and it's the Midland, I can't even speak, Ready Rescue 77810. I actually like these out of all the emergency sets. I like these the best, though I think the realistic 1004 is probably the best one, but the best performing one turns out to be the Maxcom 7E, which is going to come out of the same factory as this. This is a bit yellowed with age, and it hasn't got the aerial with it. He's probably kept that behind, which I wouldn't be surprised, because I don't need it at this stage. Rubber band's broken, so there we go. I may as well do it with the leaders it's come with, and then if there is a snag with that, it will at least show up. So for me to connect this to an aerial, I'll need to have an RCA adapter, also known as a Motorola adapter. We have a little pot of these somewhere, and I'm just hoping I don't have an avalanche of things when I go for my adapter pot. Is that the right adapter pot? No, it's not. Is this the right adapter pot? Yes, it is. So these are readily available on eBay. So it's an SO239 to Phono stroke Motorola. So this fits in a standard old-fashioned type of car radio and is known as a Motorola connector, and that is an extended phono. And with this kind of adapter it will work in both, and there we have it. So something vital which you need to have if you're going to use anything but the factory air all these things come with. So we'll plug this into the test equipment lead, and into the radio, and then we'll plug in his connector into our bench one, which for once we won't be using our crocodile clip lead. I'll make sure this is, I think this is a 12 volt radio, so that's a low serial number, 665. Glad it isn't 666, the devil's one. April 1982. These were made in Korea by Maxon, and of course the Maxcom was made in Korea by Maxon. Yes, I think I'll have to look that up, but I think it's 12 volt radio. So we're not going to run the power supply beyond 12.8 volts. So let's see what we have got. Now I can't do a Synad easily because it hasn't got an extension speaker socket on something like this. So switch it on. Put it on channel 20 and hope that's channel 20. It is. Switch picture in picture on, which hopefully I'm going to get out of this chair. It's in the wrong position. There we are. Didn't think I could see it on the monitor. And what power is it doing? It's doing about 2.8 watts. See what the deviation is. Wallow. Oh, it's over the top at 3, so that needs to pop down a bit. And receive, I say I can't give you a Synad reading at this stage because at least we can see how it hears down to. Before I do that, I think it would be sensible to see if it's anywhere near on frequency. So it should be 2779125. Well, it's virtually spot on. So we've got the test set at 1 microvolt there. That's 0.3 microvolts, which it can't hear. Let's see what it can hear down to. About 0.45 microvolts. Okay. Right, so we'll take it apart. So we have to take the knobs off. And whip the screws out. go. And with care. Now that's a bigger speaker than you get in most mobile sets today. Just look at the capacitors, just this old visual check here. So we'll get a cyanide reading out of this now. So I'll put the camera onto the cyanide meter. We'll touch the extension speaker onto the speaker. So at the moment he's doing 1.1 microvolts for 12 decibel cyanide. 1.1 microvolts. I don't know if we've got a pen on here. Yes, we have. Use this picture. Midland 77810, isn't it? UK. So it's 1.1 microvolt for 12 dB cyanide. 3 kilohertz deviation, which needs to come down. 2.8 watts power. Just to remind myself of what we're doing. So, you know what? I think we have to have this the other way on. I think when we get the service information out, I think we're expected to have it this way on. So what we'll start by doing is just popping it onto frequency. I'll just put the camera back on the frequency counter. Seven 9125. It's unusual for a set to be this close. I mean, it really didn't need touching, but that's great. That's done. So we need to run through the transmitter, and without reference to the service manual, I seem to recall it's this one, that one, and we go through there. So I'll switch the soldering iron on. We actually get quite a few of these in. Let's go back to the meter. These don't have low power, so it's always going to be allegedly 4 watts. So I'm on the 3 watt scale at the moment. So let's see if we can just bring that up. So that was already at peak. That wasn't far off peak. That wasn't far off peak. It's 2.9 watts. And that just leaves us with this one. Which was about 3.2 watts there. I'll just look at what voltage we can actually put through these before stepping it up any more than that. So we need to alter the deviation, and I would think, again without looking at the service manual, I would think we're going to probably only have one control, and that's going to be the deviation. Now I can see another one, so in that case that's probably the squelch, because I bet that's what it is, and this is probably going to be the deviation. So get the little oscillator out. Speakers used as a microphone on the... Oh no, it's not. I do apologise. It's a proper microphone. It's not that one. And it doesn't appear to be that one, so we'll go and get some service information out. Pause the video. Okay, so we've got a scan here of the original instruction book which came with these. And in Maxon's tradition, you also get... Well, it doesn't say 10100, we won't know what that is. We also get a circuit diagram and a layout and a general specification. So it alleges it's 4 watts, and let's look at what the voltage is. Yeah, it does say 12 volts, so we're not going to go above 12.8. If it was my set, we would, but it isn't, so we won't. 0.7 microvolts for 20 decibel sine, I doubt that. Good. At least you've got a wiring diagram when somebody's pulled all the wires off. So let's see on the circuit. And this is a scan of a photocopy, so you know it does leave quite a lot to be... I genuinely can't read any of the part numbers on this. I mean, I did 2 attempts at scanning that, but it's we could do with an original and redo this. So RV1 is definitely the Squelch. So deviation, if I can even see a preset. And I'm not sure I can, but if we know that RV1 is what it looks to be, is Squelch. So the TX line is, especially if we get this the right way on. Interesting. One of the cores isn't shown there, or is not shown how I'd expect it to be shown. Deviation then. Well, that's RV2, so it does look like that's RV1. It isn't. It's my fault. You know what I'm doing? I'm not in mod, I'm in power. And it is that one. Let's see where we are now. Wallow. Wallow. Just needs to come down a little fraction. Nearly there. See if that's any good. Wallow. Wallow. I've overshot it. Needs to just go up a little fraction. Try again. Wallow. 1, 2, wallow. That's it. So it's the preset back there, whichever that is. It's supposed to be RV2, but on the circuit diagram is so blurry, being a photocopy of a scan of a photocopy, that I read that as RV2, In fact, that must be RV1, so that's going to be Squelch. That's our transmitter completed. So now we'll move on to the receiver. And I suspect that that's the detector. So that's T7. Well, you know, it's so blurry I can't see. But we'll just have to rely on my experience, or as my late mother would have said, experience. She'd have said that on purpose. Right, so we need the cyanide meter on this. So I think the best thing to do is to find a crocodile clip lead, which normally we pinch off Mr. Chippy. But here's one which we haven't returned. Just pop that onto the speaker connection carefully. We only need one connection because the cyanide meter is picking up its earth through the test equipment. Here we go. So we're going to start by looking at the oscilloscope. Just connected across the speaker, not that one. That's the oscilloscope. I'm going to put an S9 equivalent signal of 100 microvolts on and just turn up the volume until we get a sensible trace. I'll just adjust this for maximum recovered audio. And it's not that adjustment. So it must be that one. It is. So there we are. So that's the detector. Good. Turn the oscilloscope off, done with that. Now we go over to the cyanide meter. So we're going to attenuate the signal until we get about 4 dB on the meter, so the thing isn't saturated. So we messed up with this one by mistake, didn't I? Tell you what, we're getting something more out of this. Not that we'll ever know how far that one has out because I messed it up, didn't I? As I've said many times before, they haven't got time at the factory to be going backwards and forwards doing this, whereas we can spend a couple of minutes on it. They can't. There we are, absolutely optimised. So let's read off what we've got now. So for 12 dB, we've now got 0.75. Now what did they say? 20 dB? They're joking. It's not actually bad, it's doing 1.8 for 20 dB. But that, I'm sorry, but that's bull. It's quite a simplistic receiver, it isn't going to do that. So let's see how far we can hear it down to. I think we said it was 0.45 before. I can now hear it down to 0.3. So that's going to get scratchy corner a treat. So, Let's check the Squelch out. So with the Squelch, we'll put the Squelch to full. And what we want to happen is for the Squelch to open with a 100 microvolt or 100 microvolt. That says an S9 equivalent signal, which is right there. So now I need to adjust the preset, the Squelch preset, until that comes in, hopefully. Oh, well, it doesn't. So we'll go up a step. So that's the most sensitive position we've got. Oh, it's coming in now. Yeah. Good. So that's minimum sensitivity, and that's 100 microvolts to open, which is what we want. So now we need to check the sensitivity at the other end to make sure that that's also what we want. So if we turn the signal generator and park it at 0.3 of a microvolt, and now switch it to standby. Turn the Squelch down. Set it to threshold. Switch the signal generator on, remembering it's parked at 0.3 of a microvolt. And let's see when it comes in. So we'll turn the attenuator to 1 microvolt, it's come in. And the fine attenuator, let's read it off. So it's coming in at 0.58 of a microvolt. And it's leaving at 0.44 of a microvolt. So that's excellent. That's going to do Scratchy Corner a treat. So that's it. We're done. And it's working well. Yep. Still transmitting. We'll put the screws. We'll put the screws back in. Talking about not being able to talk properly. I've got a sister who's 3 years older than myself, and she lives in York. And we had some kind neighbours who lived next door to us when we lived in Yorkshire, and they were pillars of the local Methodist church, and the gentleman was a retired bank manager, and they'd never gone down the Children Avenue themselves, and we lived in a semi-detached house, and they lived next door at the non-adjoining property, if you can understand that. And they'd run coffee mornings and things for the Methodist chapel. And we went along as children to the Sunday school. My parents wanted me to explore different churches, and my sister, and we went through every one possible and then made a choice. And anyway, they had a new minister at the Methodist church, and one of the things in their order of service was that the minister would say, "I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills," etc. And so my mother said, "And what do you think to the new minister?" when my sister came back from this chapel. "I don't think much to him at all," she said haughtily, bearing in mind my sister was about 7. "He can't speak any better than Richard. He said, 'I'll lift up mine eyes.'" And it turns out I was going through a phase as a 3-year-old saying, "Mine hat and mine coat." So, you know, these are all these silly little things from childhood that you kind of pick up on. Okay, it still works. Right, we'll put it on the aerial. It's coming up to 9 o'clock in the morning. We'll get a Scratchy Corner. That's not the right aerial. People keep asking what the aerials are here, and the aerial we use for the tests is a one of those fiberglass Antron 99 type things without the ground plane kit. This is a single story property, and the aerial is mounted on a wall bracket, and the pole goes straight to the ground so that it's not hanging on the wall bracket, and it's mounted a little higher than gutter level, so it's not that high up. Then the one on the base station is a bit higher up, but it's still mounted lower than the top of the roof, and again I say it's a single story property, and that aerial is a cheap copy of a silver rod. It's in a half wave one, but it's a cheap copy of a silver rod, and I think it was £12.99. You know, so this is all part of what we do to demonstrate stuff, not using elite equipment. Alright, let's see whether this is going to be elite. Well, I'll tell you what. Somebody's out of bed. One on a Roger. Okay. Something there about channel 30. Chances are what you hear on 19 on here will be from Nottingham, 35 miles away.
Can I start back Monday? Because I have got a lot of appointments this week through hospitals and everything else, you see, and I still want to miss.
One on a Roger. No, there's no chance. Right, well, we'll do a scratchy corner test with Mr. Chippy this evening, and there we have it, the Midland 77810 UK from 1982 in this instance. And the next set, I think, is a realistic TRC 1005. There are two handhelds, and they came the same day, so I'm not quite. I can't remember what the other one was. I know we've got an Albrecht set. One of those with a splittable face has come in, so that's another thing which is going to be done. So thank you for watching.